Hello, fellow writers. I'm Lewis. That over there is Tolkien, and you have found the Scripturient Society.
Welcome back, everybody. I bet you've never listened to a podcast where one of the hosts is this tired, or if you did, you didn't know because they're a better host than me.
Because they
But
didn't
that's
say it.
because they didn't say it out loud, but I did. So you guys all know what you're walking into. I'm all about the honesty here, and I also really want to set your expectations to match reality. And this is
Hmm.
what you're getting from me today. That over there is Carissa Harlow, aka Catherine, her dark alter ego, aka Lewis, my literary soulmate. I'm Ash O'Rourke, aka Tolkien, and Carissa, you look I want to say at least somewhat more awake than me. I don't want to
Oh,
discount your exhaustion if you're tired, but you look very good.
I'm actually not. I had a pretty good day today. Um, so I'm doing well. I'm not tired. So that might be what you're seeing.
Yeah, that you
Lack of
don't look
exhaustion.
tired. Yeah, a lack of exhaustion. It looks nice. And your hair
Yeah.
looks good.
Thank
It's,
you.
yeah, what a good day.
I know. I'm excited about it.
Do
So
you want to tell me how your last 14 days have been?
yes. Well, I can tell you how my last, is it 6 days? 5 or 6 days have been. So Ash already knows this. I think I've mentioned this to you guys before, but I'm a really big fan of Epic, the musical, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's based on the Odyssey, and he's releasing it in parts called sagas. And I just got lazy because it had been a while and I did not realize that another saga came out in January and then another one came out in February. So I have been listening to those
Dang.
nonstop. I love the Ocean Saga. Ruthlessness is like my favorite song right now, which is like slightly scary, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I listened to it at work today. Like I took my iPod in and I was just like jamming out to that over and over and over again. So that's why I had a really good day. It was awesome. So
I
I don't
love
know if
that
anyone
for
saw
you.
me, and I don't know if I want anyone to have seen me because I was lip syncing the words and dancing a little bit, but I got a lot done and I stayed oddly focused. So it worked really well.
This just really feels like the ideal situation for a meet cute. Like I can just picture like one of your male coworkers just being like, "Ah, I totally know what she's singing to. I love that song." And he's
It occurred to me.
yeah, it's very much
Yeah,
a I'm sensing a Jim Halpert, Pam Beasley thing going on.
that would be amazing. I would love that.
Watch
But
me be right.
that would be so cool. The only problem is that my cubicle is kind of buried in the back of a room where no one really walks through, but
That does
it just
not sound
takes
like a
one.
problem. That sounds perfect.
Well, it is amazing most of the time. It's not great for a meet cute, but it is amazing
Yeah,
on a general basis.
that's true.
So,
It makes the meet cute that much more intentional and less of
exactly.
a
It's
coincidence, which
faded.
is, yep, exactly.
Yep.
Very cute.
So, that's pretty much my update. I'm so excited about it. I
Oh, that's so
I don't
funny.
know.
Like that was your
It's
update a week
fun.
ago.
I I don't think well, I didn't say it a week ago.
No,
Was it?
but
No.
to me, somewhere
That's
around
right.
there.
Yes, I did tell you about it. I was
Yeah.
like, "Do you know what Epic is?" Nash is like, "Yes." I'm like, "Good," because I'm gonna be. This is my whole personality
But
right
I
now.
have not kept up with it. I'm sure Hobby has because he's the one who introduced me to it. My
Hmm.
husband knows every song that's ever come out ever and can sing them all word for word somehow. And I
Hmm.
have not been like, hey, have you listened to the new saga of Epic? Because I just know he'd be like, duh. And then I'd be like,
Of
prove it. And he'd
course.
be like, okay. And just start singing them all word for word. So I've not checked
Yeah.
in with him, but I feel very confident that he does, in fact, know and love them.
Yeah. Have you only listened to like the first saga, the Troy
Yeah.
saga? Okay.
Yep.
The Cyclops saga is my favorite. It's the second one, but the Ocean saga is also really great. So,
Mm.
just for those of you that
Interesting.
know what I'm talking about.
Everyone else is like,
You're like, Carissa, shut
It's
up.
good. Listen, it's a much more palatable and comprehensive way to learn the story of the Odyssey.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
so good. And he doesn't cheat on his wife all the time, which is basically my only issue with the original story. So that's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. It's like
Yep.
my perfect version of this story.
Ain't that true? Love that. Love
Love
men not
that for
cheating on their
him.
wives. Oh my gosh.
I
Couldn't love
love
it
this
more.
Odysseus. That's his only problem in the original.
I know.
So it's a
Yeah.
big one, but it.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. Repeatedly significant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll look past it for this Odysseus because he just seems like the perfect man.
Okay, so this isn't like a spoiler, but this is one of my favorite things I'm looking forward to because like the guy making it has released like snippets of the songs, and there's going to be this one song where Athena is basically convincing all the other gods to let Odysseus leave Ogygia, right, which is where Calypso is.
Hmm.
And when she gets to Hera, she's like, he's super smart, he's kind of funny, he's all these things. And Hera's like, and then she's like, and never once has he cheated on his wife. And Hera's like, let him leave. And I just think that's so great.
That's amazing. Oh, I just love the dynamics of all of like the Greek pantheon.
Yeah, it's
That
great.
is so funny. Oh my God.
And then like with Aries, she's like, he's gonna kill people to get home, and he's like, all right, cool.
He's like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
He's
So I
got
am
my
so
vote.
excited.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And Athena's always my favorite.
Hmm.
She's always been my favorite and continues to be. And so like I guess it's the first saga, Troy, that song
Hmm.
Warrior of the Mind is just
Yes.
like
Ah, instant
powerful.
classic.
Yep,
I love
instant,
it.
instant. So good. If you
Yeah.
guys
If you're
don't
only gonna know
know,
one
you
song,
should
that's the
know.
one to know.
Yep,
Yeah.
fully agree. So everyone should go check it out if you haven't, because the storytelling of these songs, amazing.
I just want to know the process for writing a musical. Like, did he start with the idea? Did a song come first? Did like, because musicals kind of like thread similar tunes or whatever throughout. So like, did he have
Hmm.
that planned? I want to know,
Yeah, I don't know.
but
I
you
wouldn't know
know,
that one. Any aspiring musical writers out there would love to hear from you.
yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Um, it rained here, which was also awesome,
that
and
is
that was my
awesome.
week. So
Nice. We've
yeah,
had some
good
rain
week.
here too. Unfortunately, my garden is not planted, and so it feels like a loss when it
It's a
rains and my
waste.
garden's not out there. Yeah, because I love the rain, and also we had such a severe drought last year that I'm
Hmm.
like, oh my God, my plants, they're not out there. So I'm getting anxiety about that. But I'm trying to be like, it's fine. You can just like garden for pleasure and not just for having business makings. And I'm
Hmm.
like, yes, I could, but also for having business makings, you know? And
Yeah,
so the two sides of my brain are fully at war over that. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's
nice.
anything notable to share about my week. Did I tell you guys last week that, or 2 weeks ago, that I had two broody hens sitting on eggs?
I don't think so.
Well, I had two
Tell us
chickens
more.
who wanted to be mamas. But the thing is, well, one of them kicked another chicken off her nest and just took over it. Her name was previously
Oh,
Oreo. She's been renamed Bossy for understandable reasons.
oh,
She was very
yes.
aggressive. She had like 30 eggs underneath her, and she was like not gonna let me take a single one. And I was like, you literally can't hatch all of these. You have to let me take some of these. And so I literally had to use tong. I keep saying literally, but I am actually using it in the correct way. I literally used rubber-ended tongs to get eggs out of the nest because the other chickens had come and kept like laying there, and then Bossy came in and pushed all the other chickens out, and just ridiculous. So, anyways, we separated her and this other chicken named Pepper. We had Salt and Peppa, aka Pepper.
Cute.
Um, yeah, it was cute. We put them in their own separate brooder boxes that like with their nests and their eggs so they could be like, cozy and separate and safe. And when the babies hatched, then they wouldn't get harassed. Um, Unfortunately, Bossy is an asshole. And so that's just the nicest way I can put it. She
True to
broke
her
out of the
name.
brooder. Very true to her name. She broke out of the brooder. Like there's like nails hanging loose. She somehow, I don't know how she did it because
Ah,
it's not that old of a brooder. And so she
right.
couldn't get back in. So by the time that we found out the next day, I was like, well, I don't know how long she's been off the eggs now. So basically these are no good. So that was a bummer. And now
Mm.
she's just back out in the yard with all the other chickens. And I'm like, well, you didn't want to be a mom, did you? And then tragically,
Couldn't handle
a
it.
couldn't handle it. Tragically, at first I thought we had a fox get into the coop, but I think now that it was a raccoon because I think a fox would have wiped out our entire flock. But a which would also explain that how she got into the brooder. She pulled the door partially. I'm so don't know why I'm assuming this is some vindictive female raccoon pulled the like door
Just to
to the
go along with
brooder.
Bossy.
Yeah, and then poor Peppa, the raccoon got Peppa out of her brooder, and there were feathers
Oh,
everywhere. And there's only one hole, like there's a little hole where the raccoon probably got into the coop because my dog, has been slowly working on this hole from the outside. Before
oh.
someone's like, it's probably the dog. It's not. It's definitely not that big of a space. She's still working at it. But
Hmm.
a raccoon very well could have gotten in. And I say raccoon for multiple reasons because A, the fox would have killed all or more of the chickens, at least, probably all. And then the raccoon, they do a thing where sometimes they just rip off the chicken's head. It's just a weird thing that raccoons do. So I found this chicken with its body wedged underneath the wall of the coop because the raccoon couldn't get this fat chicken out all the
Oh,
way and its head ripped
oh,
off, and I felt horrible because also this was a very nice chicken. So this is like one of the like, not that I'm ever like, oh hooray, my chickens are dead, but like, you get like a little bit more like just kind of numb to it. You're like, life on the farm, it's
another
a
one.
bummer.
Yeah.
Another one bites the dust. um and this one I was like, oh, kind of sad because she was a
Oh,
nice chicken. She was one of my light Brahmas, so she was like fluffy. She had like fluffy feet. And she was a sweet girl and she was going to be a good mommy. So,
sad. Can you get
yes.
like a, you know how they're like sheep dogs? Can you get a chicken dog that will guard the
Yeah.
chickens?
I mean, hypothetically, that's what my big outdoor dog should be doing. But he learned from
Right.
our first dog, unfortunately, to chase chickens. So we're still
Right.
retraining him, which is very, very challenging. We could get a goose, though. I feel like a goose would do a really good job. The
Geese are
problem is,
terrifying.
yeah, exactly. The problem is that geese are not like discriminatory about who they're
Uh,
protecting the chickens against. So,
oh, they'll attack you.
yeah. And we've
Like, these
got
are
two
my chickens
roosters.
now.
Yeah,
Thank you. Get
exactly.
away.
Exactly. The other day, someone was like, you should get a llama when you get goats. And I was like, yes, but similar to the geese situation, like, then I have to deal with the llama.
Yeah.
Effective, but now I have a new problem. So that
Farm
happened.
problems.
Yeah, farm problems. There was a giant rat snake also in the chicken coop. It's been a dramatic week for the chickens. It was very
Oh,
sad because my brother was here at the time, and I was like, "I'm sorry, but we have to kill the snake because he loves snakes, and usually I was like a rat
oh.
snake is basically harmless, except that it can eat smaller chickens and it would definitely eat the eggs." So I felt bad, but the last time that we let a rat snake live, it just came back to the coop and like we
Mm.
tossed it over the fence, like way back, but then what looked suspiciously like the same snake was back a couple days later and had killed a chicken. So
Right.
we were like, well, we can't let it live. So that was sad. And I couldn't find the flat-headed shovel. So we did kill the snake, but it was like it was just so much more messy than it needed to be. And then the whole
Uh,
coop stunk like snake musk. And like it
Ew.
was just, and I had to stomp on the shovel, and Caleb had to stomp on the shovel, and the snake was just not going down without a fight. And I already felt bad because I was like, it's I were if we didn't have chickens, it'd be harmless. It's a rat
Hmm.
snake, and it was a big, beautiful rat snake too. So that was a
Yes,
bummer.
beautiful. That is the word I use to describe snakes.
She was so
Definitely.
pretty, and she was like
Say
big and
so.
muscly and stuff. And yeah, it was a
No,
bummer.
I would feel no
There,
guilt killing a snake. I'm just not brave enough to do it. So
I felt guilt.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I felt guilt, but I was also like, for my chickens. I felt like, like I am the geese of my
For
for my
Peppa!
chickens. For
Even though they're
Peppa.
for Peppa.
Yeah, exactly. For Peppa. And then trying to think, I don't think I had any more chicken drama beyond that, at least. So that's good. The
It's chicken
dogs,
drama time of year.
it is
I
chicken
remember
drama time
this.
of year.
So,
Spring always is badly. And then we had Easter, which was wonderful, and we had a bunch of people over and
oh
like
yeah.
family and some friends, and we did an Easter egg hunt, and that was really fun. And then we had
Ooh.
so many extra eggs because the chickens have been laying so much. So we did with the my child is yelling so loudly. I can hear him through my headphones, through the
I
door,
can't.
through the other
I heard
room.
kind of like a sigh, but
That might have been it. That
I
might
don't
have
know.
been it coming through. Oh my goodness, he's barely been in there. He just woke up
What,
mad.
like half an
It's
hour
okay.
maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
Poor baby. I don't, it's just weird. It's crazy that you can't hear him. It is, he's doing his really high-pitched angry scream. His
oh,
dad can get him. It's fine if he needs to, because hopefully he'll go back to
he's
sleep.
fine.
He is fine. He's just got some drama, my sweet boy. On his first Easter too, so that was cute. And he got a little frog toy
Yeah,
from his cousin, and he has been carrying it everywhere. By
cute.
carrying it, I mean we carry him and he won't
Oh,
let go of the frog. Like Avi tried to pick him up off the bed
right.
to go take him into the kitchen a little while ago, and Riley like leans back over his arm and reaches down and scoops up the frog toy so that he can carry it with him.
Like, wait, Dad, I need the toy. The
Yeah, it's
frog's got to
so
go with
cute.
me.
Exactly. I love it. He's like just ultimately
Aw,
he like that was one of his favorite toys. And then this big like stuffed ball that sings songs that my mom and Greg got him for Christmas. Now he loves that one too. So they're like,
yeah.
it's just so cute that he has like favorite things now. And he has a
Aw,
6-month
cute.
checkup this week. So we're gonna see what they say about my
Ah,
enormous behemoth baby. His growth rate has not decreased. If anything, it has
still going strong.
excelled. Yes,
Oh man.
he is a beastly baby. He is. I know I always sound like I'm making this up, but I really didn't think this was gonna happen this soon. His 6 to 9 month clothes, he's just about to turn 6 months old. His 6 to 9 month clothes, because I got him a bunch of those, are almost too small. They are like tight from shoulder to
Oh my
toes
gosh.
because he's so long.
Riley, stop.
Yeah, so I definitely thought those were gonna last
Just
like
for
a
the
little
sake
bit
of the
longer.
budget.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, good. We've got enough pajamas for the rest of the summer. No, we don't. So, anyways,
Psych.
like, oh, but I was just saying that we used the rest of the eggs, and we did like when you put the egg on the spoon and you race around a tree, and then like when you like do like the egg
Mm-hmm.
toss games. So we did some of those and gave out
Yeah.
prizes and set up my new archery range. So we all got to shoot my recurve, and then
Ooh.
I got a longbow at the Ren Fair because I've wanted forever. So for my
Oh
birthday,
my
I got a
gosh.
longbow. So
You're like
fun.
living the dream. That's
I
so
know
cool.
it
Aside from the
is.
dead chicken and stuff,
Aside
like
from
that's
the
pretty
dead
cool.
chicken, yeah. It's pretty awesome. And so I helped Grayson, like I kind of showed
Yeah.
her how we use a bow, but of course, like could not let go of
Hmm.
it because A, she is a very tiny person. And then also be like,
Right.
there's a sharp thing at the end of the arrow, so we got to keep an eye on that. But it's very
Yep.
cute. There's pictures of her like learning like how to use a bow and stuff. And so I was like looking up like little kid bows. So that was really, really
Yeah.
cute. Have you ever shot
Aw.
a bow or one of my bows? I don't
I
remember.
Not one of yours. I have gone like to an archery range, but I don't know enough to tell you what kind of bow it was or anything like that.
See, it's
But
just
it
one
was
more
just
reason that you
like
need to
a,
come see me and we can be out there and just
I
shoot at
know.
it'll be awesome. Yeah.
It'd be so fun. Did I tell you I'm finagling things so that I'm not using as many vacation days to go to my cousin's wedding, so I should
Yes.
have enough for another
To
trip
also
a
come
couple
and
months
see
later. So,
me. I discovered
yes.
I also have quite a few vacation days, unfortunately, because of how tiny our team has become and how the workload has not in any way again decreased. It is just massive more than ever. I have,
Mm,
days that I could take, but because it's just me and one
right.
other person. So there's like no one to pick up the slack.
Yeah. You don't
So
want to be
we're
like inconsiderate to the other person. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. Anyways, that's that. Super, super tired, probably a little bit hormonal. That's where I'm at. I'm exhausted, you guys.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, you
So
know what else I did this week? I went down the internet rabbit hole of weird conspiracy theories,
oh
and it
hell
was
yeah.
a ball.
What
It
was
was
the best
amazing. I
one?
love conspiracy theories. Like, um, that they're at the top of like, is it Mount Hermon or whatever, where like Jesus disappeared? There's like a portal that exists outside of time,
I've
and
heard
that's
this
why
before.
Elijah and yeah, and someone else like he was talking to them as they were like telling people about it, which is why they were so sure. I think it's Moses and Elijah, and that
Hmm.
like that's why they were so sure he was going to be coming, and it's like no time up there, and I like that one a lot. And
Ooh.
that actually makes a little bit of sense to me. Some of them were just crazy, like Skinwalker Ranch and like
Oh yeah.
skinwalkers and aliens and stuff. And like as I'm watching them, I fully believe it for like the like 3 minutes that I'm listening. And then I move on to the next one and I'm like, nah, that's definitely not real. But it was fun while I believed in
Yeah.
it. So
Javi really, really believes in those things. He would
does
get
he?
mad if he heard you actually say it. So he always calls them skinny boys, and he says that's all you're
Oh,
allowed to call them. And
hmm.
he would be very, very upset. Yeah.
Well, of
Which is funny. And the other, like the first one, the conspiracy theory that I'm more inclined to believe in that I love, he'd be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
course. You're like, really? I'm just
Is it?
I am not inclined to believe in aliens, to be really honest. So anything where people are like, maybe it's a spaceship, I'm like, look, I believe there could be something weird, but I don't think it's aliens. So
I am
that's my
inclined to
thing.
believe in extraterrestrial life.
But
I'm
on
not.
Earth,
This is the
yeah,
problem.
exactly.
Not typically. It
Right.
depends. it's also another thing where like if someone's like explaining it to me in the moment or like I'm watching a documentary in the moment, I'm like, well, you know what? They bring up some good points. And then I
Right.
think about it later and I'm like, I don't really buy it.
Right.
Definitely believe in extraterrestrial life, and I've always been pretty diehard
Mm.
about that. But when they're like, the pyramids were made by aliens,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
like, they were made by slaves. I know we don't like that,
pretty
but that's
sure
what
that they
happened.
were. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, pretty sure there was a lot of bloodshed involved in that situation.
Yep.
Strange.
Yeah.
Uh, interesting. That's
So
very
yeah.
fun.
Anyway, I love that. I like letting it build up on the internet and then coming back every year and just being like, let's see what's out there now. So
Oh,
that was
that's
fun.
really funny. I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, do you have any book recs?
I don't. I just have the epic rec. I mean, it's not a
That's a
book
good
rec
one.
really, unless you want to read the Odyssey, which I mean, I think I've recommended before, depending on
Yeah,
the translation.
I think we
But
both recommended that one.
yeah. So that's what I mean, it's storytelling and also conspiracy theories.
Yep.
So it's not a book rec, but that's what I got. What do you got?
My book rec is really just a series of stories, whether you watch the Netflix adaptations or you read the books that they're based on. Harlan Coben's thrillers. Again, I'm still on
Yes.
my thriller kick right now, but Harlan Coben's stories. I have not read all the originals,
Hmm.
but I've been watching them on Netflix, and
Yes.
I'm just like, wow, like the
Hmm.
twist, so
The
good. It feels
one
like
with,
so authentic.
yeah, the one with Dexter, the guy who played Dexter. I don't remember what it's called. It's like the gated community and his daughter
Yes.
disappears.
Yep.
I really like that one.
That one's a
Yeah.
very, very good one. I
Hmm.
think I've watched like 3 or 4 Harlan Coben
Yeah.
adaptations. So this is a rec for both the adaptations and also the books. And I have not read the books, but I feel fairly confident in saying that there's at least some good stuff about the books because the plot points, there's no way the plot points are changed because you don't get plot like that in your average like run-of-the-mill thriller show,
Right.
you know?
Right.
It's very clearly, you can tell like it's been
It
adapted
was a
from the book,
writer.
I feel like. Yeah.
It was a
It was a
novelist.
writer, it was a novelist. You
Yeah.
can really tell. So that's yeah, that one's really good. I think the most recent one I watched is called Fool Me Once. And it
Okay.
was so good. I feel like you would particularly enjoy it, Carissa. You should really watch
Okay.
it. Fool
Cool.
Me Once. So good. And I am currently, this is not a rec and it's not a book. So it is, kind of
Just
irrelevant, but I'm going to say it anyways.
yeah.
It's on Peacock and I think it's called Apples Never Fall,
I've heard of
which
it.
I actually
I've
think that is based off a book.
Is it? It probably is.
I
No one in
think it
Hollywood has any
is.
original ideas,
That
but
is
that's not the point
true.
right now.
But it's pretty good so far. I think I'm on like the
Yeah.
second or third episode. Very, very good so far. So I'm still like
All
in
right,
my
cool.
thriller era because I'm still, working on a thriller book. But
Nice.
I have not yet finished the thriller book that I'm reading. First Lie Wins, not because it's not amazing, but because I don't want to lose my like train of thought for my
Yes,
current book,
I
you
get
know?
that.
Because I feel like
Hmm.
especially like with thrillers, obviously I love thrillers, but I feel like they're kind of formulaic sometimes, like
Hmm.
mysteries, kind of formulaic. And I'm afraid that if I like keep reading this book I'm really into while I'm trying to write it, like I don't want to adapt any of that formula. I
Yeah,
want to be
I hear you
original.
saying. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree
Yeah.
with that.
So,
Safe. Don't,
yeah.
like avoid plagiarism. So,
Yeah. I really try my best, which reminds me, and this is not really on topic, but I'm going to say it anyways. People at work, I've been helping out with the company's newsletter. And there is a certain group at work, and I don't think they know about this podcast, but if they do, I'm going to say it anyways because it's the facts. Um, has apparently been, I have just become aware of it, but apparently this has been a problem for a little while, is that they're like submitting articles for the newsletter that I had assumed were their own work. And then our proofreading team, I guess, runs like a plagiarism check and is like, this is just direct copy and paste from these sites, which
oh
like
no.
we can do, we just have to cite them,
Right.
So I was like, I don't mind you guys, but just a reminder that I need to know where the stuff comes from so we can cite them and not plagiarize. Um, but then on like a more like how I just feel about storytelling angle and like
Hmm.
articles is like if you don't have anything new to say, why bother saying anything? And that might
Yes.
not apply all the time, but it did feel like it applies to these articles. But you know, just a little reminder to anybody out there, if you are Writing, it
Don't
doesn't matter
plagiarize.
what you're writing, don't plagiarize.
Yeah.
And while it might not be acceptable to like just copy and paste big chunks out for like a paper that you're writing, you can do that in like a newsletter article. Just cite your sources, please.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're
Give
gonna make
credit
your
where
editor
credit is
look
due.
dumb. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that too. So do we have a word of the week?
We do. It is limerence.
Ooh.
Limerence. You may assume this has something to do with limerick. It does not.
Oh.
It is the state of being infatuated or obsessed with another person, but not in a primarily sexual way.
Limerence. Oh, like I have a limerence for my child?
Yeah, that
We
would totally count.
have
That's
a
accurate.
limerationship.
Oh wow. That was quite a misuse of that word. I'm almost impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A limerationship. My mom today was like, it just seems because, of course, I send her videos of my child constantly because
Mm,
he is, the best human that's ever existed. And
obviously,
she's like,
limerence.
obviously, she's like, it just seems like you guys are just the best of friends. And I was like, we are. He's my best friend and I'm his best friend. And I'm going to really enjoy this time where he has
That
no
will never
choice.
change. I'm
We
gonna
are best
embed it in
friends.
him.
Mother is your best friend.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to
Uh,
enjoy it before it becomes a problem, you know?
yeah,
For it
fair
to be
enough.
like, we're not codependent, go hang out with your friends. And then I go cry in my room.
Right.
Uh, so I'm enjoying the freedom of my liberationship with my son right now.
Nice.
I would like to say it
When
goes both ways, but it might just be the milk that he has a liberationship with. A
and the lack
limerence
of other
for
people, but you'll see as he gets
that too.
older.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw this word, I was thinking about like fictional characters. So
That's good too.
is is yours healthier or less healthy? These are the
Questionable.
questions.
Yeah, I don't know. Would love y'all's thoughts, listeners. Who is the least
Yeah.
healthy of us?
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
funny.
Is it worse if
Limerence.
it's limerence for a fictional character I made up?
I think that's awesome. I really
I know.
enjoy the audacity of that.
Right?
And Limerence feels like I'm gonna have to tell Kendall about this, our my co-host over at our sister podcast, That Pretentious Book Club, because I
Should like it.
feel that she embodies the spirit of Limerence.
She does. I
Yeah.
can think of several people or things that she would feel this for.
Keanu Reeve.
That was my thought. Yep.
Yep. Dev Patel.
Who does she really
Who
like in
there's
Six of Crows? Um,
Jasper.
yes,
Or
Jasper.
Wylan. I cannot with those two.
One of them.
I I don't
I
know why.
cannot.
I don't like the vowels. I get them so mixed up with those two. And then there's some other the actor who plays oh God. His name is Tom something, I think. Watch, I'm gonna be totally
Hiddleston?
wrong. No. That
That's
would
all I
be
know.
too current.
Oh,
It's
I
one of the
see.
guys from Twin Peaks, and he's been in a lot of other
Wow.
stuff. He often
Obscure.
plays, yeah. Yeah, he often plays like kind of like a crazy person.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. I don't remember his name, but he is her current limerence, or she
All
currently
right.
has a limerence for him. I mean, how do
Yes.
I use this word?
Yeah, I think she would have a limerence for him.
Ah, she's a
She feels
limerence for him.
limerence.
Right,
It says a state of
she's in a
being.
limerationship with him.
She has limerence for
Right,
him.
she's in a limerationship with him.
That's,
That's
yep,
correct.
same thing. You're saying, echoing me right back.
Yep, I know. Like same thing. We're saying the exact same thing. I like
No
that
difference.
limerence.
I know,
That
it's
should
fun, right?
be like that should really be a more common word because that's a
Yeah.
pretty common thing.
Mm-hmm.
That
I
is
would
so
think so.
funny. Interesting.
Yeah.
Limerence. Hmm. I did think it was going to be something to do with the limerick though, so I was
Yeah.
definitely thrown off.
Yep. But nope.
Interesting. Oh, now I want to know the origin of the word limerick, but I guess that's
I
for another
know.
episode. Like, what do
It
these two
must
have in
be,
common?
don't know. I assume
Hmm.
are limericks Irish? I always assumed they are.
No idea.
Anyway,
I don't
that's
know.
all I know.
I don't know. I
There's
guess
no
we could go ahead
definitions.
and we could get into the theme.
Yes. So I don't really know how to describe this one, which is pretty typical of me. We're gonna be talking about like small little external details that you can add to your books in the form of like riddles or diary entries or poems or codes or things like this. Like, the things
Ah,
that are like set apart in the
yeah.
books. They get their own little paragraph or their own little font,
I say I
that kind
like
of
it when they
thing.
have their own font. It's like a
Yeah.
little handwriting font or something.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
enjoyable.
Yes.
Interesting. I like
So that's
that.
the topic. I don't know what to call
Huh.
those collectively, but that's
Asides,
pretty,
I don't know.
yeah,
An
that's actually
aside.
pretty good. The asides, the literary
The
asides.
literary asides. I like
I
that
don't hate it.
also, but the thing that's definitely more accurate. But I wanted to call this episode Riddle Me This.
Ah,
So maybe we
it's
just
always
do that
good.
anyways, even though really probably it's more of the former. Wow, so what did I what is the former? I literally my brain was just like, go to sleep now. And then like I had a whole second where my brain just shut off and turned back
I
on.
I don't know if it's you or me, but I'm not really sure what you're talking about. What do you mean before?
Maybe I
Like the
just
list of
dreamed the
things I
last
gave?
minute.
Asides.
Asides.
There it is. Okay, that's what you meant. I was like, wait, I think it's contagious. I also
think
don't know what you're saying.
I think asides is more accurate for what we're talking
Yes,
about,
I
but
see what you're saying.
I like the title potential with Riddle Me This.
Yes.
It's like when a book has a really great name, but then it's not at all what the book is about.
Oh, I know. This is the bane of my existence is I want to come up with really obscure, cool sounding titles that
You
do
do
have
have
something
some.
to do with, I know, like I really try and I
I
try to
know.
fit them
You
in.
sent me that list of your books and you were like, which do you want to read?
Did.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Sent me with a good time. And I was like, how is every single one of these titles so good? Because
Thank
I
you.
am
I
not
worked
good with
so hard.
titles. It shows. They're very good titles. I was like,
Thank
dang
you.
it.
And I feel like when you read them, you're going to be like, okay, I see what was going on here. Or at least I hope so if I did my job, you know? So,
Yeah, undoubtedly. I don't know that any title will ever truly hold a flame to the title of my ongoing work, Pregnant with Alien Baby.
you know,
But
that's true. That is obviously the best title of all time.
I know.
But
But we can't all be the writers of a book called Pregnant with Alien Baby.
it's true. Only one, really, unless you want to get into plagiarism issues. So,
Yeah, yeah. Cite your sources, you guys. That is my title. I better get credit for that.
it's all right. You really got to hold on to that one.
Well, I will. Absolutely. Tight knuckled, white knuckled. That is mine. Um, okay,
Uh,
so asides, essentially. I
yes,
like them.
I
I'm
do too.
pro
I love them.
asides.
I'm
Yeah.
pro. So this is my question. I already have my own answer, but do you think it's possible to overdo them, or do you think there's
Yes,
an amount? Yes. Okay. So I was
I do.
thinking.
But
Okay,
it's
tell me what you
hard.
think.
I
I
mean, I
think it depends on
just
the genre. I
yes.
think it's. I think in fantasy and like mystery and thriller, you have a little more leeway, but I wouldn't
Hmm.
use it in like excessively in a lot of other
Yeah.
places.
I would say children's and middle grade, you can kind of
Ah,
just do however much you want. Because I
yes.
mean, I just remember loving that. And there was never, I mean, just give me all the asides. I'd have been perfectly
Yes.
happy with a book that was all asides. Oh, wait, is that an epistolary novel? Kind of. I would have loved it. Um,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, I do think you need to be a little more careful. And then I think maybe when you get into stuff that's like, you know, whether it's fantasy, science fiction, thriller, mystery, contemporary, whatever, asides are wonderful and they feel like it feels like a little piece of the world, I feel like,
Yes.
it feels like a little bit more real.
Yeah.
But
It feels
I
like
do
world
think,
building.
yeah, it does.
Hmm.
I think that the one thing to be aware of is that maybe it's not that I think that you can do too much of it. I think you can do too many different types. And the
Oh,
different
okay.
types feels like a children's book, like middle grade thing, you know?
Hmm.
But I feel like you might need to stick to like, two or three types of asides, like
Yeah.
per book. I feel like if it's like a bunch of like, it's an email, now it's a text message, now it's a riddle, now it's a song, now it's a whatever, like
Hmm.
it's a letter and it's a diary entry. Like that's the kind of thing you could definitely do in middle grade and they will love it. But it feels a little bit scattered for
Yeah.
like either like maybe even young adult you could do that depending like younger young adult like new adult and up I feel like you need to like pick a few and then maybe
Yeah.
use those as much as you want.
Right.
I still like the idea of being kind of balanced with like normal prose, but
Hmm.
I think maybe sticking to at least a few kind of helps.
Yeah, I would agree. Because, like, thinking about things like, riddles or codes or poems where it's like, it's not like an excessive amount usually. Like, if you have those every so often in a book, I think it works really well because it feels like it's tying together and like you have, some consistency. But yeah, if you had a ton of different things, you kind of, the reader would kind of lose the thread and it would no
Yeah,
longer feel put together. It wouldn't feel consistent. It would feel scattered.
it feels like
So,
notes. It feels like someone's reading
yeah.
your notes versus the actual like finished product.
Yeah, I had an idea for a book and I couldn't decide what to do with it. So here it is.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So I agree. But like in general, I do think they're really good because like they add excitement and I always liked them. I still like them because if you're going through a book and like let's say you're physically reading, this doesn't work audiobook wise, but if you're physically
Mm.
reading, it breaks up the page, especially if they're offset in some way, which
Yes.
I would recommend. I love that. And so
Yep.
you feel like you're getting through more of the story faster and it can like pick up the pace. It's kind of like an artificial way to help your pacing, but not artificial in a bad way, just artificial in a different way.
I completely
Um,
agree.
yeah, and then it's just kind of fun to get to a page where you're like, "Ooh, I'll get through this page in like 4 seconds instead of,
Yeah.
however many minutes it takes." So I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I think maybe that's why I have this instinct to be like, well, don't use it too much because it does like speed up the pace. Because
yeah.
not only does it like make it faster to read a page, but also because you're allowing your readers to collect whatever conclusions they want from it, like you would in
Mhm.
real life. And it has like all of the implications, like the picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a little like snippet from a letter might not be worth 1,000 words, but
Mhm.
in that format, it's probably worth more than its actual word count because there's so
Right.
much subtext that people can draw from it, like you typically do from like a letter or a diary entry.
Mhm.
So it feels like it propels things forward a little bit faster, which I obviously love. But I think you can kind of like maybe if you do too many, it feels like you're going too fast.
You're jumping instead of
Yeah.
like sprinting. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so like this was my question because I don't know my answer. So you've read Caraval, right? By Stephanie
Yes.
Garber. She does
Yes.
this excellently. She has like the invitation and
Yep.
like little riddles and stuff throughout. I love this.
Yes.
Um, and I do think it adds that effect, like when you see it on the page, it does like speed up the plot a little bit because you don't have to say like, oh, she got this invitation. You can just kind of read it and then we can move on because we understand
Yeah.
what's going on. Um, but I feel like the first invitation in Caraval came really early. Do you think she
Yes.
queried it with that? Like, was that part of her
I've
query
actually thought of
package?
this exact same example.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would
I
love to know.
This is what I want to know. Because on the one hand, it's like, okay, it would make it really unique and maybe it would really stand out. But on the other hand, maybe like how do you format that? Because in the book, it's like it looks like a torn piece of paper or like a fancy piece
Hmm.
of paper. And you wouldn't have that. Did she use a different font? Because they're like, don't use different fonts. And I'm like, but
Yeah.
what if it's useful in this
Or do you
situation?
just use italics like you would for like a
Yeah.
flashback? I don't know.
And just separate it by like a paragraph. You just
Yeah.
make it its own little section.
Yeah.
Asterisks.
Or maybe you do it as like a block quote in
Yeah.
italics in the center of the page. That's how I've been
Hmm.
marking it for myself, my own stuff, when it's like because I use italics for a lot of different things. But then if I
Hmm.
like put it into like a block quote type format, then I'm like, okay, that's more like a letter or like
Yeah.
something that's handwritten, hopefully.
Right. I
Yeah.
usually change the font when I want something handwritten, and that's mostly just for me. Like as I'm reading through, I can be like,
Yeah.
okay, here's the handwritten thing.
Yeah.
But I
I
would
did
feel
that with
strange querying that.
yeah, I did that with texts, like with
Mm.
text messages and emails in my Space Alien Southerners and Saving the World by
Yeah,
Ashley O'Rourke, if anyone's interested. It's
that's
on
right.
Amazon.
Buy it now on
Um,
Amazon.
buy it now. Leave a 5-star review and tell all your friends. It is zany. So I
That's right.
forget
That's
who
the word.
described it as zany, but someone did, and I was like, "You're right. That's correct."
I was gonna say that wasn't
Um,
you.
it wasn't. Just
That
somebody else
wasn't
was
me.
like, zany is like with that. Maybe it was Kendall. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know what genre this is. It's kind of
What
like
is this?
rom-com meets sci-fi meets action. Because it's just
That's a genre. That's a very
there's a
specific
reason
genre.
that I published it, that I self-published it. There's a
Yeah.
reason because it'd be very, very hard to query because it doesn't
Yeah.
very neatly fall into a specific category. But when I was
Hmm.
writing that one, I did use different fonts. Because where I feel like italics can often, to me, I feel like that looks more like handwriting and like maybe more
Hmm.
representative of a letter or something. But I feel like if I try to use italics to represent like a text or an email, it wouldn't come across. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well,
Might
that's
just
not
be like
like
my
the
brain.
that's not how emails and texts are usually written. They're written in like normal font.
Yeah.
So it italics doesn't necessarily feel like obvious. Whereas I feel like we do associate it with handwriting because most people's handwriting is not straight.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. I think about that sometimes. I'm like, how different books where they have kind of strange things in the beginning, like how did they query this? Because that was her debut.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure. So it's like I understand how like Jay Kristoff has kind of a weird beginning to Nevernight. I get it because
Mm-hmm.
he was already published.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna
how did
say the
Stephanie Garber do
Illuminate
this?
files.
Yeah,
Yeah, with Jay Kristoff and
Amy Kaufman.
yes, Amy Kaufman. Yes.
Yeah.
They do a lot of great little asides in that.
Hmm.
So good.
It's so good. Yeah, I guess
I love that.
that's like an example of a book that's almost mostly asides because
Yeah.
it's not a lot of prose at all because it's kind of trying to be like sci-fi and it's like video feeds
It's like a
and little
sci-fi
reports.
epistolary. And
Yeah.
that one also an amazing exception for an audiobook that's basically epistolary that is still amazing.
Yeah.
That's
I
like
haven't listened to the
probably the
audiobook, but
you haven't? It is the
I
best
haven't.
produced audiobook that I've
Ooh.
ever heard. It's got like
All right, cool.
music and sound effects, and it's got different actors for the different voices. And
Hmm.
sometimes when people try to do that kind of stuff, I'm like, it's either too much or it's not
Hmm.
done well enough. And I feel like you have to really hit the nail on the head with all of that. And
Hmm.
especially with a book like the Illuminate Files with all of those different types of asides in there, like that could be very hard to represent in an audiobook.
Hmm.
Um, they nailed it. There's like
Yeah.
sound effects, there's like explosions, and not like crappy ones. Like everything
Yeah.
is high quality. It's like seamless. It's a totally seamless audio experience. It
Oh,
is
cool.
the best produced audiobook I've ever listened to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's a glowing recommendation. But it does also make me think like the only issue, this is actually my issue with audiobooks and why I don't listen to them very much, is because I feel like you do lose that whole like I'm reading it physically so I can see all these like page breaks and I can see the invitation and its full glory and stuff.
Yep.
But I guess you just have to be creative in the way
About
that
how
you
you,
put it
yeah,
into sound.
exactly. It's
So,
just that people aren't typically.
yeah.
And that's okay. There's a reason that it's like book, we have books in book form.
Hmm.
That's just I think also why the Illuminae file stands out as such a standout as an
Right.
audiobook, that they did such a good job. Because
Yeah.
other times I've also heard people try to like do like, the sound of blowing out a candle or a page turning, and
Oh,
it just sounds kind of like cheap. And it could
yeah.
again just be the production, of
Hmm.
it. But yeah, there's ways
Yeah.
to do it, but it's often harder, I feel like, to represent in audiobook form. But if you want
Yeah.
to take notes from the Illuminae files.
That's the one to look at. But
Hmm.
yeah, I do think there's like you have to be aware as an author now that like audiobooks are a thing and that
Yeah.
some people might, especially if you're going for trad publishing, like people a lot of people are going to consume it through the audiobook instead of the physical book. So like
Yep.
I don't want that to discourage anyone because I love asides, but I don't know, maybe just keeping that in mind as you
Yeah.
write them.
If you have a book that's
But
primarily, if you're just like, I can't wait to see this as an audiobook, maybe, unless you're sure you can really nail the production, maybe try to limit your asides a
yeah.
bit more than you would. If you don't really care that much about the audiobook and or you're just super confident in your production skills or
Yeah.
the resources that you choose to have before going the audiobook route, then then maybe it's
Maybe go
fine.
for it.
Maybe
Yeah.
go for it. Maybe you'll be the next the Illuminate Files.
Yeah. Um Yeah. So my next point, gosh, I'm so bad at segues. Um, I'm like, now for the next point.
Oh,
Um,
I like it.
thank you. It's very clear, right? It
It is,
works.
exactly. Whenever I'm editing, I'm like, ah, I know exactly when we're moving to the next point.
Woo. So I also think like another great thing about like again, particularly like riddles or like any kind of, you know, I'm thinking like poems scrawled on the wall or like little things like that, is that
Mhm.
they can be foreshadowing. And I think it's
Yes.
cool that as the reader, you can kind of choose how much you want to spoil yourself and like decide how like foreshadowy you want to get. And so I definitely think if you're going to use stuff like this, the asides should definitely be related. They shouldn't just be random and put in there
Yeah.
for no reason. Like if you're going to put a riddle in, if there's like someone giving a riddle, make it thematically relevant.
Yep.
Or if it's a poem, make it, have it say something about the character that wrote it or something like
Hmm.
that. Um, but like as the reader, you can kind of choose like, okay, I want the full effect. I'm gonna like think about this. I like, what do I think this means? Or you can just kind of go past it. And then when you get to the reveal, you can like reflect back and say, ooh, I see what was going on there. So I just think that effect is kind of cool. Because most of the time, foreshadowing and prose in general is like basically every reader is going to kind of understand what's going on and see those little hints. You can still decide like how deeply you want to think about it, but I think it just like the effect is magnified when it's in an aside of some sort because you can still get the full effect of the book without having to think about it too deeply, but then you can go deeper if you want. Does that make sense?
It does. I
Yeah.
totally agree. It kind of like reminds me of another point that I wanted to make, which is just one of my favorite things that people do with the sides, particularly like with poetry or a riddle, or a prophecy, where there's like multiple meanings and you don't know which
Ah,
one's
yes.
which. This can be
Hmm.
great when you have, what is it when there's like one word that means different things?
Like a double entendre
Sure.
or
I don't know.
okay. It's
You're the
not a,
smart
it's a
one here.
phrase, but that does, I mean, double entendre works. I don't know if that's the one you're thinking of, but yeah.
Just like when there's like, oh, yeah, it could be a double entendre. I mean, just like literally like any strategy where you could interpret something one way or another way or
Oh,
another
wait, do you mean
way.
like a homophone or a homonym?
Yes.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that,
That's
but also
different.
double entendre. That, I mean, that's what I was
Yeah.
talking about specifically, but also double entendre, like literally anything where there could be, or maybe it applies to like to different people, not just one person. Or maybe we think that this
Yeah.
riddle or this prophecy is about this one person the whole time, and then it turns out it's not, it's something different. And
Oh, yes, I love
I
that.
love that. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I want to say that Rick Riordan has done this several times. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
very good at like writing these little like riddles and prophecies and then kind of like twisting them at the end. So you were
Yes.
never tricked. You just assumed like that you
Mm-hmm.
understood what it meant, and then you're like, "Oh my God, I should have known that's not what it meant at all." It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's so
Um,
good.
I love that. That's such a great thing to do. You could even do something similar if you're doing like, like snippets of letters or diary entries.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, you don't have as much freedom to play with things like homophones, I feel like. But you can do things like you think that they're talking about this one person the whole time, only to find that
Mm-hmm.
they're not.
Yeah, you could
And
play
that
with
can,
names or like someone has a
yes,
nickname and you don't realize it's referring to this person
yes,
that's in the story somewhere else.
yep. Or it's
Yeah.
just like a letter, like today Jay said this or Jay did that, blah, blah, blah. And
Mm-hmm.
then the whole time you think that you know who it is. And
Yeah.
it's not. It's great. It can be great for, it's so interesting because the sides are so good for like adding like a little bit of like clarity and an extra measure of reality, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, they can be used to totally like, what do you call it? Not disorient people, like redirect people, misdirect people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But without like
Misdirect.
tricking them, like you are giving them like
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote true information and like real insight into the situation, but at the same time it can still be a misdirection. And I just think that that's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love it. I love that effect where like and also again because like different readers will have different assumptions. And so if you give it a couple layers where like people can assume different things from it, that just makes the experience like a little more unique, which is really fun. Um,
Yeah.
so I like that a lot. And also, okay, so the one from Rick Riordan that I remember is that in the original Percy Jackson and the Olympians, he
The
does
word
something in the
raise.
prophecy. Yes, the word
Yep.
raise. And
Yep.
I'm just thinking, like, if you are writing for middle grade or something like that, this is also a really cool way to just get some vocabulary in there
Vocab.
and teach.
Yeah.
Like, I remember reading that and being like, raise, what a cool word. Because
I
it's
know.
R-A-Z-E. And I was like, ah,
Same.
this is fun. So
Raise.
definitely.
Now I
That's
want
one
to
I
like do a
remember.
reread of those. I never want to like reread middle grade books, but I do want to reread
Mm,
those.
I
And
think
I
they
want
would
to
hold up.
reread Harry Potter. I feel like, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like Rick Riordan would definitely hold up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
That was my first inspiration for the
Was
point
it?
because it was the
Yeah.
very first thing that popped into my head about asides and riddles and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, like that is not by any means the only way to do this.
Yeah.
Also particularly useful, I feel like for maybe not prophecies so much. Prophecies are excellent for fantasy,
Hmm.
prophecies and riddles. Riddles can be good for just about anything. Um, but I feel like letters and stuff like letters and diary entries are they're good for fantasy, they're good for mystery, they're good for thriller. They're good for you can even have like, log entries for science fiction.
Yes.
Like it's just pretty,
Hmm.
it's
Or
very
historical.
applicable or
Like,
historical. Yeah, it's
hmm.
applicable kind of like across all genres, which is
Hmm.
nice. I don't know where I was going with that, but I like them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was going to be a good point.
Yeah. Um, I just so I wasn't even thinking about prophecies, but you're so right. That is another like a side thing. It's kind of like a poem. Usually they rhyme and
Yep.
stuff. So this is like the one caution is like it's so easy to make them cheesy. And
So easy to make them cheesy.
it is even that felt so wrong coming out because of the stupid
Yes,
rhyme.
that's
So
true.
it's I when I was first writing my series, I tried so hard to write a prophecy and I was like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
sucks. Like especially because I do think that basically speaking, you're either a writer or a poet. So it's so hard to like write a poem if you're a writer. Does that
Yep.
make sense? So it's like
Yes.
I would be very careful about cheese. I
Writing
would either
prophecies. Yeah.
acknowledge that it's going to be cheesy and make it just super rhymey or do a lot of work on it. I don't know.
Yeah. I have written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten prophecies because they are so hard. I also feel like for me, riddles are very difficult because my prophecies tend to be cheesy, and my riddles don't tend to be cheesy. They just tend to be easy to figure out. My brain doesn't
Oh,
typically think in riddles. I would rather write like a letter or a diary entry that has multiple meanings.
hmm. I am like the reverse. I love writing riddles.
What? I know. My husband just brought me Riley because I texted him finally. He was still so upset, and I was like, "You
Aw,
can just bring him to me. He's not usually this upset." And Javi comes in and
aw,
goes, "He thinks we forgot him."
oh,
Hi, honey bunny. Look at those big old crocodile tears.
aw,
Oh, it's
in that bald
okay.
spot.
I know. He's going, you know, the way
Oh,
that they do, and it's just
finally.
so hard. We didn't forget you, sweets. I put you in down for your nap. I was right there.
Don't you
Unacceptable.
remember?
It's
Hi,
so sad. Say hi, Auntie Carissa.
Riley.
Smile.
Ah,
He's like, I'm not ready to be happy yet, actually. I still want to be sad.
I'm gonna go back and forth for a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. Look at those watery eyes.
Ah,
That thing that they do.
yeah. Oh, I can breathe.
It's
Oh,
okay. We did not forget you. Poor thing.
who could
Anyways,
forget you?
I know. I was trying to swing it so that it would just be a grown-up ladies only podcast, but
Mm,
Riley was clearly deeply offended by that idea.
it's all right. It's like you're my best friend. I have to be involved in everything you do,
I
obviously.
know. It's because we're in a limerationship.
That's right.
Because I have limerence for you. I'm in limerence with you. Whatever.
Yeah. I
However
mean
you use the
I don't
word.
think that's how you work use it, but it works.
We're in a limerationship, Riley. He's so
He's like,
cute.
cool.
I know. He's like, all right, you did just abandon me
He's
completely.
like, I'm still getting over it, but
Remember the time
whatever.
that you abandoned your offspring in the dark in a cage?
Oh wow. That's an interesting way to look at it.
See, there you go. There's another interesting way.
That's
One
right.
word can mean different things, and it can be the same reality, a crib, but to different people. It's like a
That's
different
right.
thing.
Person in the crib. This is actually like a good strategy to write riddles because that's what we were talking about before. I love
Oh,
writing
is it?
riddles and I feel pretty confident in my ability. Maybe I shouldn't, but we'll see when someone actually reads them. But it is you just take a concept and then you find a really bizarre way to describe it. And then
Interesting.
I
Okay, this
enjoy
is
that.
good. This
Hmm.
is good. I gotta take notes on this because my riddles are abysmal.
Yeah.
That's
I
funny.
mean, it's hard. Like the only like thing with riddles is you definitely, well, I wouldn't think you want to plagiarize. Like there are the traditional riddles that like everyone, well, most
Like the
people know
riddle of the
like the
Sphinx.
yeah, exactly. And you don't unless you unless the riddle's really not that important, you don't want to plagiarize because it's kind of boring because people kind of
Yeah.
know the answer, right? But you can use that as inspiration and you can, kind of brainstorm based off of traditional riddles.
Yeah.
So that's what I
Interesting.
did. I really like the candle one, the wax and wane thing.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
So
And now my brain is like, okay, what kind of riddle would Riley write at the
yeah,
moment? Because I'm like, because
you
first
call
of
the crib
all,
a cage.
yeah, exactly. He would be like kept in this cage, screaming into the dark, into the vast darkness,
Into the
fed
abyss.
only fed only gruel, which is his baby food that does kind of look like gruel, but he quite enjoys. Fed only
Yeah.
gruel and stale crackers. They're rice crackers that he loves to chew on.
Mm.
I scream, but they don't hear me. I have been forgotten.
It's like the river riddle, right? I have a mouth but don't speak. I have
Yes.
a bed but don't sleep. I like that
Hmm.
one too.
Yep, that's a great one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
They're
Maybe
just
that's
fun.
actually a good there's a good strategy there. If you're like me and you're like, I'm not pretty good at writing these riddles, prophecies, whatever. Maybe go read a bunch of them and just kind of get your brain working like in that
Yeah. It's a
zone.
certain mindset. You have to
Yeah.
be like, how do I describe this thing without really describing
But
this
yeah,
thing?
it's kind of like a poet, like when you're like really in you get like really into poetry for like brief
Mhm.
periods of time, but like more tricksy than that, which is why like
Yeah.
I think like reading prophecies and riddles and things is probably a good um and even limericks is probably a good way to kind of get like in the mood for that. Right,
Yeah.
Riley? Or perhaps look at a situation from a unique perspective and be like,
Mhm.
what does this seem like to this person? You know, like they talk about how like what is it? Like a blade of grass to an ant looks like a tree or something, you know?
Yeah,
That kind of
exactly.
thing. Yeah.
There
So
was
it's
this
like
fun, oh sorry.
no,
There's
go for it.
there's like this fun TikTok sound where it's like someone being like, I wrote a book about murder from the perspective of the knife. So it's like you could just do like, in inanimate objects, like what would their perspective on this thing be? Or like an
Oh,
ant or
that's right.
something.
Yes, like
Yeah.
my husband wants to write a book about a toilet that travels the world.
Wow. That sounds exactly like something he would do.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it
That
though?
sounds like his idea. You could have told
It
me that and I'd
does.
been like Javi's idea, right?
Yep. Yep, ain't that the truth? Riley's like, I am gonna write a story about my teething crackers. Uh,
Mm.
they are shaped like surfboards, and he takes big bites out of them, so it looks like a shark has taken a bite out of a
Yeah.
surfboard.
You're a little shark.
Yeah, yep. I just this kid. He's not even 6 months yet. He has no teeth, and he can gum down anything.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, I see you're laughing. I'm not.
I'm not, I'm too mature for that.
He's like, I'm still getting over my abandonment. That's what that was. That he's still like, still trying to calm down.
I'm still recovering.
He's like, I don't know why you didn't just drop me off at the firehouse or something. Might as well. Been so abandoned. Just leave me outside. Send me off to Hogwarts. Drop me on the doorstep of Auntie Carissa if you don't want me, Mom.
Right.
Right, Bubba. Is there anything you want to say to your constituents? I call everyone his constituents as if they all voted for him to be mayor. Anything you want to say to
Or
your
president.
constituents? Yeah. That's the sound of him grabbing the microphone if anyone's interested and him hiccuping into it.
I was gonna say, is he gonna eat it?
He's gonna attempt to eat it. He looked at you like he could hear you. He was like, yeah, and
Obviously. What else is this thing for?
it's not for eating, Bubba. Strokes the microphone.
I love it. I limerence it.
You limerence it? You have a limerence for this microphone? He's like, maybe I
Total
forgive you for
infatuation.
abandoning me. Now that you're letting me touch the microphone.
That's all that really matters.
Yeah, now we're gonna be totally focused on that. He goes, like he's thinking he's gonna get upset. Yeah,
I
I
could get
cannot.
upset.
I literally, this is not like a true thing in any way, but my first thought was you guys should all have babies so that you have someone to laugh at. That is perhaps
I mean, it's
not the
not
reason.
wrong.
Not incorrect, but perhaps not the reason to reproduce.
Yeah. Not right, but not wrong.
Yep. God, ain't that my whole life? He's like, I slowly pulling the microphone like I won't notice. Hi, dear.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh, Riley.
if you guys are listening to this, I will try and cut out all of the extra just dead space. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, then you can probably see how my child is really trying everything in his power to get this microphone.
His little hands.
Uh, yeah, he's not so little hands, but little. Thank you, but little. Okay, okay.
Wow.
That is the sound of my child just trying with all his might to get the microphone in his mouth.
He's also
Hello.
headless because the background keeps swallowing up his face.
I know. There, did it taste like everything you wanted it to, dude?
Not really.
No. But I'll probably forget and try again in a second.
Obviously.
All right. What else do we have on asides?
So let's see. I was talking about plagiarism. So like don't plagiarize. Um, I would also say like sometimes I really love using this kind of stuff, right? And I think it can be useful as you're just like going around life. When something occurs to you, just like write it down and then like have like a folder for it
Ooh,
or a notebook.
that's
And
very
then when it
useful.
comes time to write it, you have kind of this list that you can pick from, which I find very helpful because, brainstorming can really only do so much when it comes to something like a code or a riddle or something like that,
Yeah,
because sometimes it's just really
codes.
hard.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you get stuck, and then inevitably, I feel
Mhm.
like I do my absolute worst writing, not necessarily when I just try to write through writer's block, but when I try to write any kind of aside material through writer's
Yeah.
block. I don't know
Because it
why it's
like
so much worse.
it's your brain is like switching subjects. So it's hard to go back and forth kind of, even though it's the same subject, it's a different like version of the subject almost.
Yeah.
So it is hard to go back and forth. So I think it's useful to like have it waiting or to just like put in like a return to later kind of thing in the middle of
Yeah.
the book and then just
Yeah.
come back and do it when you're more inspired. So like a placeholder, that's what I wrote down.
Yeah.
Instead of like stressing about getting it done right then and
Yeah.
there as you're
I
writing it.
totally agree. I completely
Um,
agree.
yeah. And also if you're like I again, more for something like riddles, maybe this could also work for like poems and journal entries. I find that handwriting them out is really helpful and like crossing them out just because if they are something that is handwritten, I think we tend to like write differently on paper than we do on a computer. Maybe not. I don't know any
Ooh,
studies on that. But if you handwrite it
interesting.
out, I think it can feel a little more natural as something
Yep.
someone would write in a letter or in a
Totally
diary.
agree.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. Or like even poetry. Poetry is much easier to write. Not that I'm great at it, but it's much easier to write on paper than on the computer.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I fully
Riley's grabbing
agree.
for her face.
I held the microphone up out of reach and he was like, "Oh, now it's a game. I'm about it."
I'm like, I can do this. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of like my tips if you're struggling to do this kind of stuff.
Those are good tips.
Um, yeah, and then we already kind of talked about like giving it a double meaning or like triple meaning or quadruple meaning so that readers can kind of, for savvy readers to look into a little deeper and everyone else to just kind of be like, cool, what a fun detail.
Yeah.
Um, Also, if you're trying to write a riddle or if you're doing a code, I think if a code, it would be particularly useful. Start from the answer and then work backwards, which I kind of already said. But
Very
that's
smart.
usually, yeah, that's
Yeah.
much easier to do. And sometimes I come up with like poetic lines and I'm like, ooh, this is fun. What does this refer to? But it doesn't refer to anything, and that's really hard. So if you have
Oh,
like
that's
an
difficult.
object or a concept, I just think that's a little easier. Or like code, like if it's going to be like every fifth letter is part of a secret message, it's much easier to have the message first and then to kind of decide how you're going to write it out to
Yeah.
illustrate that message. Um, so yeah, those are
Yeah.
my pieces of advice. Um,
Those are very good pieces of
thank
advice.
you. If you guys are struggling to do that kind of stuff, that's what I do. Because I do this kind of stuff a lot, which is also why back to like the Caraval idea. I want to know if I can do this in a query letter or in my
Yeah.
query material because
I want to say yes. I
uh
mean, maybe not in
I
the query
know.
letter, but like in like the
Yeah, in
opening
the
chapters that you query. Yeah. I
right.
feel like you could.
I don't know. We'll try it. We'll see.
You could even do like a line if it's like a really good like enticing line of a prophecy or riddle or an aside. You could potentially put one of those into a query letter.
Yeah. Maybe even at the end. Like that's the 5 page or
Yeah.
10 page break. And
Yeah.
then they'd be like, ooh, I want to see more.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I want to say yes. I think you can.
Yeah. I mean, I would love that if I were an agent.
Right?
But
And
I don't
honestly,
know.
anything you can do to stand out, as long as
Mm,
it looks like you have done your best to try and follow their guidelines, I
yeah.
feel like you're on relatively safe ground.
Yeah. I would think so.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think that's all I wow. He has a lot to say now.
He's like, all right, let me tell you guys.
Are they done? It's time for the real show.
He's like, I'm so tired, you guys.
Oh, go to
Sleepless,
sleep.
abandoned, the encroaching night,
All good
deafeningly
lines.
loud.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I think that's all I had. Kind of talked about all this. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about asides?
No, now my brain is just for absolutely no reason coming up with like dramatic a dramatic aside from Riley's perspective about
Hey, that's a good
being put in the
exercise.
crib. There it is, you know. That's true.
Gotta just
I'll have
stretch
to
the imagination.
I did a haiku once for him also. That was a similar
Oh,
experience.
cute.
So yeah, that's funny. Sir, 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 excuse me. Here you go. All right. Do you have any writing updates that you'd like to share?
Um, that was, I'm not being insulting. That was a worse segue than I usually have. I
Well,
was
my
like,
child.
I gotta reorient my brain to that topic. Uh, yes, I have the writing update. So I sent Ash, she kind of told you guys this already, but I sent Ash a little list of all my books I have written that I'm
That's
not
so
really sure which one
exciting.
to query. And I gave her little snippets about like the premise and some cool details about it, and she picked some.
I felt like I
And
was
I was like,
browsing a bookstore, but I didn't have to pay for anything. It was awesome.
I mean, I had fun writing it. It was actually a very good exercise. I think I'm better at pitches now. They're not
I
like
I had kind
awesome
of had that
pitches.
thought. I was like, she's getting
Yeah.
such good practice with pitches.
Yeah, I mean, they're not perfect, but they're certainly better than they were even a year ago. Um, but so I put that together and that was fun. And I expected you to just be like, all right, this is the one I want to see. But you gave me a list of three. So I was like, cool.
I could not
And
decide.
yeah, I mean, okay, so here's the thing. So one of them is called Whatever You Say. And I'm like, I know she's gonna pick it because it takes place in Ireland and it's a boarding school.
Yeah,
So I was like,
immediately.
I was ready for that one. But the other two, I was like, interesting. So, like, not the ones I expected you to pick. So that was fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brain definitely saw, like, I can still vividly remember the moment my brain picked out the words Ireland, boarding school. And I was like, that's the one. I don't even know
That's the
anything
one.
about it. My brain just like immediately detected those words.
hmm I totally knew. I sent it and I was like, why did I even send it? I know what she's gonna pick. But again, good exercise.
Yeah.
So I did a little cursory edit of that one. And it's actually one of the shorter ones. It's only 90,000
Oh,
words. So that's fun. And I'm gonna do because here's the thing, like I want to send it to you to just get your feedback so you can help me fix some things, but I also want to know what the effect is like if I'm doing it right. So
uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, what do I do? Like I
Yeah.
don't want to waste your first read and
Ah,
because
that's so
then you'll know the
tricky.
twist.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be careful with like, okay, are all the things I want feedback on like really solid? And then the things that I need input on those aren't really different things, but I'm using them differently. Like, are
I
those,
understand.
like reasonably written so that you can give me proper input?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing now. I have a list in my little notebook of 5 more edits I need to do because I usually check for different things on different edits, but I
Nice.
don't think it's going to take me that long. So hopefully I'll get to it in like the next week or so to send it to you.
Nice. Oh, that's
But
exciting.
yeah,
Cool. I like your process and I'm very excited about it.
yeah, it's fun.
I'll read it out loud to Riley.
Yeah, it's good.
He's like, I'm about to rip up mommy's notebook. My notebook is also right here, and he is
Yeah,
doing everything in his might to get the pages.
yeah, I get it. I enjoy notebooks, Riley. I
Yeah.
feel ya.
Yep. Same page, dude. Okay, you can hold the microphone, sure. Um, I don't think I have any writing updates.
Ah,
What a surprise.
the child. It's your fault.
Yeah, you hear that? He's like, accused for wrongdoing. I have not. Blamed, blamed for the misdeeds of my mother's, whose bosom is but a distant memory to me in this cage.
You're really getting good at this. And I want to see this riddle or this
Right?
prophecy in something.
It's so funny. It's okay, it's okay. He's like, I don't like it. It's not funny. He's like, my feelings are not a joke, mom.
You weren't trapped in there like I was.
You don't know what it's like. You're gonna make it. Here, do you want to hold on to the microphone? I would just rather panic breathe into it. Yeah, but yeah, to absolutely just echo your sentiment. Yeah, this here is a big part of the reason
Yeah,
I've
that
not
makes
gotten any
sense.
writing done. But I've still been very much, and do not stab yourself in the eye with that pen. Ew, my
No
microphone's
sense of
wet.
danger. Ew.
None.
Babies, literally.
Yeah.
The literal babies.
He's like, I've never been so upset in my whole life. Okay, dude, look, we're nearing the end, okay? I
Just hold
don't
it
have
together a little
look,
longer.
you want to tell them what mommy's done? How much writing has mommy done? Yeah, that's about how much. I've just panic breathed about it. I've been like,
Yeah.
oh, I should get some writing done. Wait, how? Now he sees. He's starting to think it's funny. Did you see him do his little faker?
You're
His
not
little
sad.
fake, like squeezing his eyes shut thing. Hey, goofball. Boogaboo. I hope you guys are really enjoying this. I really did
The
my
baby
best.
sounds.
I did my best to not expose you guys to this, and Riley
I
had
saw
other
the attempt.
plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you hear him going? He's mad because I tried to exclude him from the podcast, and he didn't get to put in his 2 cents.
He has a
More
lot
like,
to say about codes and journal entries and invitations.
yeah, I know it's so hard to be a baby. Anyway, still obviously like watching thrillers and stuff too to try and like stay in
Mm,
the zone. Even though there've
yeah.
been like a couple like fantasy like sci-fi things that I really like want to start. I'm like, no, you're in the zone with thrillers. Like
Don't
you're
lose the
actually
thread.
exactly, and I'm making good progress when I actually, am opening up my little keyboard. So
Right.
maybe this week we've had people staying with us for the last 2 weekends. So maybe this weekend I'll actually have a chance. That would be good.
Ooh,
That is my lack of writing update.
cool.
If you guys enjoy the sound of a baby chewing on the microphone, boy oh boy, this is the podcast for you. You better go give us 5 stars. You're not going to find
Woo!
another podcast with this level of professionalism. You want to talk about audio production value. I know. Okay, you can have it back. Yep.
Obviously.
Riley would like to tell everyone to please rate. I was gonna say rate and subscribe. Yes, do that. But truly the 5 stars. Follow us on social media. We are the Scripturient Society. We are on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok is all the funny videos, particularly if you're a writer or a reader, and Instagram has got all of the motivating tips and tricks to keep you going throughout the week, to keep you on task, especially if you have a little terror slash tyke trying everything in their power to get you off task. If you guys want to share what you're working on, we would absolutely love to hear about it. You guys can join our writers group on Discord. The link is in the description below, or you guys can email us at contact@storysirenstudio.com or message us on social media. We love hearing from you guys, even if it's just like what you're reading right now or some funny thing that you happened upon whilst writing. I would love to hear some stories from other parents who are attempting to write whilst a child tries to put their pen in their mouth, that kind of thing. Like at the moment, a child's trying to eat the XLR cable from this microphone. I know. And with that, I think that's everything we've got for you guys. So, are you gonna say it? You can say it, Riley? No, every time we're just gonna panic breathe. Say, so until next time, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page. Woo!
Here's the button. There it is.